21st Century East Africa, Challenges and Prospects in Islamic Dawah. Mr. Hamisi, welcome on the stage, and you'll be having 20 minutes for the presentation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, all. Yes, my name is Mr. Hamed Hamis. So I'm just welcoming you all to this interesting start that I'm going to share with you today. States that Islam in 21st century East Africa, challenges and the prospects in Islamic Dawah. Going direct, I can take you to an introductory part that we are going to see that Islam has been a part of East Africa since the 8th century, but the scholars just try to disagree exactly to which time that they arrived there in East Africa. But this scholar Muhammad al-Baid, in his book Stages of East Africa History, comment that Islam arrived in East Africa around 702 Hijri, and during this time, during the time of Khalif Abd al-Malik bin Marwan. So, and according to him, we just say that the first people to bring the Islam in East Africa were the Omans, like Said and Suleiman, were taken as the people who were just brought Islam in East Africa, and Said were reached in the place called Lam, and Suleiman reached in Mombasa. East Africa is among of the part of the world where there is a highest percentage of the Muslim community. And it has been the part of East Africa where it's encountered with Islam in 8th century. But as I told you, that some contradictory story about in which time exactly where these people were brought Islam in East Africa. Muhammad al-Baid, and as I told you, we just try to say that in his book, as I mentioned to you. But unfortunately, the Muslims have been divided into many groups or different sects. And our community, we know that we have the Sufi, we have the Salafi, we have the Shia, and we have Sun wal Jama. Not all Islam has been taken to deep root in East Africa, but also when we go to another side where the Christians also were just taken into sect, have the high position as we see in Islam. Also, the existence of these two powerful religions created many challenges to Islamic preaching or Islamic Dawah. So it's where now this article is going to address how to depict the challenges which are facing the Islamic when it's in East Africa. I think it's down one. Okay, maybe we have to see what is Islamic Dawah. In literal meaning, we can say Islamic Dawah derived from the Arabic word, which means calling. So Islamic dawah can be referred as calling to Allah, lawfulness, and demand for Allah's help. So that is a simple meaning of the Islamic dawah. And when you go, you see from the Al Quran, chapter 10, verses 38, you will find that, and call to you out wherever you can except Allah. So there is no need of calling anyone except Allah. So for that dawah to get in our progress, there are some issues we must consider so that we can have this dawah very effectively or efficiently. These things are dai, the one who preaching, the one who delivers dawah. And we have madu, dawah follows, and we have mada, the content, wasila, the media where the dawah may be delivered. It might be the oral, written, and visual, printing, and even moral. We have tarika, means method, and the other, where it is the final, is athari. After having this dawah, at the end we should have the athari, the effect of it. It is its implication to the community of Islamic Ummah. So in this technical meaning, dawah can be referred as Islamic missionary activities, which are increasingly characterized by long-range planning. So there are some issues to consider here, when we have to provide dawah, we have to look in these 4 areas. Number 1, we give dawah for the aim of Aqdah, Islamic faith, to strengthen Islamic faith. Another, ibadat, for worship. We just give people dawah so that they can have the faith and have this tendency of taking salah even 5 times per day and so on. And we have mu'amalat, the interaction among the people and the moral teaching. That is issue where dawah takes place. And also, dawah is a farad kifia. Farad kifia means is an obligation to the people. It's not an individual work. Dawah is for all Muslim community, whether me and you is not the duty of somebody in the Islamic community. So dawah is an issue of everybody, whether we are Muslim or whatever. You should be the part and parcel of giving out the dawah to Muslim community. So I'll take you very roughly to this background of Islamic dawah in the world. That we have that Islamic dawah in the world started immediately after Muhammad, peace being upon him, that after him being taken in this world, we just starting to provide this Islamic dawah. It was 610. So the Prophet, peace upon him, who just started to preaching Islam from his family first. And when you go and you take the chapter, or you go and look at the chapter 26, verses 214, you will find there Muhammad was just started to give dawah to his people, to his nearest people in his family. And also, we can have this, that Islam dawah also have divided into 2. We have internal and external. So internal, we can give dawah to the people within our community of Muslim. Maybe we Muslim, we can be reminding each other sometime in this and that. But external is, we are giving dawah to the people who are non-Muslim, to call them to become a Muslim. That's, we have 2 kind of stories that we can make people to gather dawah. In East Africa, also, After Muhammad, we know that have some companion of Prophet Muhammad. They were just trying to spread the Islam different part of the world. And there are people used to preach the Islam in the whole region, and then we take them to the part of East Africa as we see today in 8th century. All right. And also, we see that we have economic motives, where people will say that in East Africa, the Islam were brought by the Arabs, but these were because of what we call trade activities, which were that motivation, what you call it, economic motivation that make them to bring Islam here, and so and so. Maybe we can see the methodology and research. We say this is historical, and research design and research approach is qualitative because it is explanatory kind of history that we can see. And data and finding is that what were the challenges of Islam, Islamic Dawah? One, government intervention. And you see, the people there were doing the Islamic Dawah, but government takes them as they are doing something differently. Maybe this they teach terrorism or terrorist activities, whatever. Another one is like ideological differences among the Muslims. It's also challenges. And also we can have poverty in a Muslim community. You see these people are Muslim, but they don't have life. People are living such kind of that life. So we see the missionaries from another side, we just gave these people assistance, and we lost these people. Christianity and the Catholic dominance in East Africa, we see this. This is a dialogue between the people who are trying to give out, and absence of strong bodies in Islamic communities. In Islam, we have this bakwata, which is sometimes people, they term as a Catholic and so on. Also, we have the effect of globalization. We teach people the dawah, but imagine in the brain of the boys what he thinks, and the girls, you see. So I think it is very difficult to impart the dawah if the brain think like this. Boys think like this, and the girls think like this. So you find this, it is complicated. Even if we preach a dawah in any means, people, they can't even understand as soon as possible. So we need another means. The significance of this is to bring the people toward morality. When we bring this dawah to the community, we can improve the morality. And also, conclusion is like this. Many people have bad attitude toward Islamic dawah, as they are condemned as terrorism activities. So we should advise the government should stop or intervene this, because Muslim, we can see like that is our conclusion, and recommendation is so many, but I try to summarize them. All Muslims should be like a single body, so that we can have this ability to provide dawah to the people, and the Islamic organization should stand on Islamic code of conduct, and the government should provide its true freedom to the worship of the Islamic community. Wabillahi tawfiq.
Thank you so much, presenter. You may have a seat and wait for the questions. So it's now Q&A session. We shall have some few minutes for this presenter.
Thank you, Brother Miss, for the paper. I just have a small question on the historical aspect of your paper. I find it questionable, your suggestion that Islam came to East Africa by the 8th century. So So I would ask you to make more probe on that. This is because the other side of the history tells us that Islam came to East Africa in the early 7th century, in the second decade, in the first year of Islam. If we recall about the two Hijrah, in the first 5 years of Islam, when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ sent 25 of his Sahabas to Habash, and Habash by then stretched to as far as East African coast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. I see Brother Nuru. Direct to the question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother, I heard you saying people are seeing Bakwata as Catholic. Is that your views or your findings? You just said Bakwata, people view it as a Catholic. Is that your views or your findings?
No, it's not a time for responses. Maybe we still have time to okay, Doctor.
Thank you, Brother Hamisi, for the wonderful presentation. My question is, part of expectation of the paper is that you may investigate the activities of the our organizations in which it seems to be absent in the paper. I don't know where you place it, whether it has a passive, impact in the society. I wanted to see the impact of this organization, Islamic Da'wah organizations.
Thank you. This is going to be the last question today, or any contribution, please, Dr. Slash.
Thank you very much, presenter. I think I want you to correct your statement when you say Bakwata is a Catholic organization, because we are gathered here as Islamic community, and we don't want to send out a very wrong message that this is what was said here. Bakwata means Supreme Council of Tanzania Muslim, in Swahili is Bakwata. So they are the Muslim leaders of the Tanzania. So please correct your statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Slash. Now, Brother Hamed Hamis, it's your turn. Only few minutes, please. We could be happy if you could only use 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you for your good suggestions. Some questions have been asked here. Some of them, because the paper is still not published, so I'm going to be taken as improvement to my paper. And they said, from Dr. Jamal, say that Islamic reached in East Africa 7th century. That's why I'm saying to my paper, there are some contradictory scholars where they just debating in which year exactly, or which century exactly, where the Islam reached to East Africa. And also that is about Bakwata, that I said it is relating to that. I will take it to consideration. It's a very important input to add. Yeah, correct it. Yes, I correct it. Yes, I have to correct it. That is well going to be researched enough so that I can have a very good finding.
Excuse me,
thank you very much for that.
Excuse me, Brother Hamis. The request is you are required to correct, to utter openly that Bakwata is not a Catholic organization.
Yes, Bakwata is not a Catholic. What you said? Bakwata is? Yes, Bakwata is not a Catholic organization. Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Please, chair of the session, proceed.
Thank you, Brother Msama. So we're now moving to the second presentation, and this is going to be presented by Dr. Jackson Wanjau. Please, Doctor, be prepared, as I am now trying to introduce the presenter before the audience. Audience, Assalamu alaikum. I'm calling for your attention. Yeah. We are requesting for your attention. I've said the second presentation is going to be made by Dr. Jackson Wanjau, and he will be presenting on the topic which says Challenges of Sustainable Development in Societies, a Thematic Literature Review. To give to you a brief introduction regarding the presenter, Dr. Jackson Wanjau has a first degree in economics, and this is from Kenyatta University. He has a master's degree in business administration. He's also a holder of Master of Science in Human Resource Management. He's having a PhD specializing in business administration. In addition to that, he is a holder of a bachelor degree of law specializing in environmental and intellectual property rights law. So, dear presenter, you'll be having 15 minutes to make your presentation. Please welcome on the stage.
Morning. So, as you can see, so I'm Dr. Jackson Wanjau. We have a paper that we have co-written with my colleague, Ms. Maguta. So we work in the School of Business at Uber University. And this paper generally is about environment and the way it is affecting sustainable development, because the issue of sustainable development is about looking at our environment. So this is our environment in Victoria. You can see the two sides, where one side is green and the other side, of course, you can see is dilapidated. And you can look at, when you look at that tree, you can see those people who are protecting the environment, and you can see those people who are not protecting the environment. And remember, the issue of sustainable development is all about making sure that the environment is taken care of. In our introduction, we are saying, while in the past, only the economic growth was used as a development barometer, there are serious concerns that this scenario is continuously in conflict with ecological concerns. And in 1987, there is this gentleman called Glo Harlem Braddard, the chairperson of the World Commission on Environment, came up with a report they called Our Common Future. And in this document, which is commonly referred as Bradford Report, after the chairman's name, this person is credited with coming up with the term sustainable development. And the report further described sustainable development as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. So it's about, that is all about sustainable development. And that's why we are talking about what challenges are making society not to achieve its sustainable development. So the first thing we did was to define what is sustainable development
as per the Brundtland report. So sustainable development, you can see, is the ability to meet the needs of the present, that is present generation, without compromising the ability of the future generation. We are going to be guided by two theories. The first theory is action theory of adaptation to climate change, and the second theory is the contingency theory. The action theory of adaptation to climate change was proposed by Carlos Esk and Rebecca Stecker in 2011, and climate change is predicted to harm a minimum of 22% of the world's most vital crops and livestock, and 56% of all crops in low-income African countries by 2050. And there is increasing competition for land, water, and energy, and the other inputs. Thus, many researchers, especially in agricultural sectors, have suggested several potential climate-smart agriculture adaptations and mitigation practices to scale back agriculture climate risks. The other theory, so as you can see, this is, when you talk about adaptation, you have to adapt. That's why the issue of adaptation now comes here on the issue of the climate-smart agriculture, but also there are many others. But of course, the greatest effect is being felt in the food industry. The other theory is contingency theory. And contingency theory of leadership was proposed by an Australian psychologist called Fred Edward Fielder in his landmark 1964 article. The contingency theory is an approach to the study of organization behavior in which explanations are given as to how contingency factors such as technology, culture, and the external environment influence the design and function of organization. Climate change risk assessment often have high levels of uncertainty and high level of projected change. Contingency plans describe how an organization or a sector will respond should a risk effect occur and thus remaining resilient. So that's why the contingency theory is very important in this study. What are the elements of sustainable development? Sustainable development has been identified to have three pillars, which include the environment, the economy, the society, and of course, when we talk about society, we are talking about socio and cultural pillars. The expectation is that in states development planning, a balance between the three pillars is a necessity. Let's look briefly about economic sustainable development. International Economic Development, ICD, describes sustainable economic development as the investment in business, social, built, and natural environments that creates increasing prosperity for all, now and in the future. You can see that's why sustainable development is about taking care of the present and future generation. Environmental sustainable development. Sustainable development is the ability to maintain an ecological balance in our planet, natural environment, and conserve natural resources to support the well-being of the current and future generations. So again, you can see the issue of the current and future generation is coming up in almost every slide. So the predominant approach in many countries, cognitive process of reaching decisions, tend to consider economic environment and social development factors at the planning levels independently, thus having a adverse effect on sustainable development as it influences actions of the development. An integration of the same in all political and economic decisions helps in reshaping the government, industry, and the individual's outlook on sustainable development. So the greatest accountability lies with the government in partnership with other key players, among them development partners, to bring in new dialogue to help achieve the required integration. Social sustainable development. The main objective for social sustainable development is to ensure that people are provided with equal opportunities, are allowed to participate in not only decision making, but that also their voices shall be heard whenever they are not satisfied with any proposed law in their own country or state. So social sustainable development could also be described as peaceful resolution of social tensions and conflicts. At the preamble of 2030 Agenda on Peace indicates there can be no sustainable development without peace, and there is no peace without sustainable development. Cultural sustainable development. Article 3 of the UNESCO Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity indicates that Cultural diversity widens the range of options open to everyone. It is one of the roots of development. Further, as the preamble of Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity, UNESCO, indicates that respect for diversity of cultures, tolerance, dialogue, and cooperation in a climate of mutual trust and understanding are among the best guarantees of international peace and security. So the above provisions, therefore, are in clear agreement with the preamble of 2030 agenda that there can be no sustainable development without peace, and there is no peace without sustainable development. So what are the measurements of sustainable development? John Elkann, regarded as the World Authority on Corporate Responsibility, in 1990 established a new accounting framework to measure performance in an American corporate. The accounting framework, which he referred as the triple bottom line, incorporated 3 dimensions in the measurement of corporate. These are the people, the planet, and the profit. And the triple bottom line accounting framework, with its interrelated dimension of social, environmental, and financial performance, is a useful tool of analyzing sustainability reporting framework. There is no universal standard method of calculating the TBL as finding a common unit of measurement for the 3 P as a challenge. So the suggestion has been the use of an index which allows the comparison between the different establishments where performance between them is compared against an agreed benchmark. So what are the challenges then of achieving this sustainable development? So according to the United Nations World Economic Survey, the world is facing challenges in all the pillars of sustainable development. I conclude? Okay. So sustainable development, and especially in the developing world, has been identified as 4 major challenges, which include: number 1, the external debt; number 2, corruption; number 3, the failure to coordinate development policies; and number 4, failure to integrate intellectual property rights in our inventions. The external debt. So in Agenda 21 highlights, external debt is one of the greatest impediments to sustainable development in the developing countries. So the agenda provides that a global debt strategy aimed at restoration of developing countries' financial viability is urgently required. The corruption. Available evidence from various research publications, also from development agencies among the World Bank, suggests that corruption is widespread in developing countries than in developing world. So thus corrupt practices have been found to have significant adverse consequences in sustainable development. 3, lack of coordination in developing policies. So the failure to coordinate the development of policies across sector lead to ineffective policy designs, thus affecting sustainable development. And 4, failure to integrate intellectual property rights in our invention. Intellectual property rights are considered as a tool to reward innovators and creators for their contribution to the society. They are intended to provide necessary incentives for the generation and dissemination of knowledge. They cover a wide range of interrelated disciplines. Thus, intellectual property is intended to improve the lives of everyone, everywhere, thus in support of sustainable development. And this study is interested in 2 intellectual property rights. Number 1, the patents. Patents are intended to protect and encourage new inventions. The Marrakesh is a town in Morocco, came up with the World Trade Organization, what we call the World Trade Organization trade-related aspect of intellectual property, rights, the TRIPS. And these are rights that each inventor or somebody who have invented something, the world is in support of those inventions. So according to TRIPS, patents shall be available for any inventions, whether products or processes in the field of technology, provided that they are new, involve an inventive step, are capable of industrial application. The agreement also adheres that the patent shall be available and patent rights exist without discrimination, thus in support of sustainable development. Geographical indications. Geographical indications are defined a good as originating from a particular territory or region or locality where a given quality or reputation or other good is essentially attributed. So for example, there are typical examples where geographical indication have been used. Cognac is a brandy that comes from a region in France. Darjeeling is for tea coming from India. If you look at Africa, we have not even been able to protect our industries, to protect even in some of the inventions with our students. So you can see people like in India, they have protected their tea. France have protected their brandy, and many other countries depending on where that is coming from. So that's in principle, geographical indication is in support of sustainable development. Findings. So the literature review revealed the following, that the number of publications in this area are increasing, that external debt, corruption, and the failure to coordinate activities are bringing issues on sustainable development. General recommendations. The integration of intellectual property rights in our invention is especially important. Enhancement of energy transition to renewable energy. The enhancement of technology transfer. And the enhancement of, what are we recommending to the universities? Number one, we are recommending to the universities that they need to go into energy transition or investment in renewable energy, use of solar panels, buildings that have self-lighting capability, reduction of fossil fuel use, and of course engaging in circular economy, which is more about the recycling, the reusing and the repairing, and of course enhancing carbon sink through planting of trees in the university compounds. So I think with that we can say that is our study, our paper, and in conclusion we are saying that the Sustainable Development Goals are the blueprint to achieve better and more sustainable future for all. And these goals address the global challenges we face, including those related to poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. And with that, I say Asante. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for your wonderful presentation. Please remain on the stage for Q&A session. Brother Tana, please take the lead.
Okay, 5 minutes for questions. Please, anyone who has got a chance to ask a question, go direct. Brother Nuru. Brother Nuru, what's your name? Could you mention your name?
My name is Nuru Mohammed from Muzimvatu Morogoro Biology Department. My question is, let me go direct to the recommendation. The presenter, you said we need to go for electric vehicles. Is it going to be also sustaining our environment as far as electricity is concerned?
Very brief, thank you so much. Did you get the question properly? Okay, Brother Nuru.
My question is, will the use of electric vehicles go to what do you call environmental sustainability? Because I know where electricity is, the source of electricity is known to everybody. Need the use of water, etc., etc.
Thank you. Just wait, because others have already raised your hand earlier than you. Okay, but please, quick, direct to the question. Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Jackson. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm wondering whether there is a possibility of an impact, of sustainability or rather sustainable development on religious development.
Okay, now, excuse me, just wait, keep on waiting. Imam Ali, what's your name, please?
My name is Ali bin Omar bin Saleh bin Hassan from Muslim University of Morogoro. My question is, how can sustainable development be integrated into our daily life if we can ensure sustainable development in the presence of corruption, greed, and other impediments? As we recall it, sustainable development is kind of a development where the now normal generation attain the needs without compromising the ability to the next generation to attend their own needs. Okay, thank you.
I think it's enough right now because of the time. You could, please, Doctor, we request you to respond to those asked questions.
Okay, thank you very much. The first question was about the issue of electric vehicles and how it's going to affect the environment, how it affects the environment, and of course leading to issues on sustainable development. The issue of, remember we have said one of our role, one of my recommendation is that we need to reduce the use of fossil fuel. And you know the fossil fuel is one of the greatest, it is one of the greatest generator of carbon that goes to affect our ozone layer. Remember, once the carbon is generated through use of fossil fuel, it goes and affects our ozone layer, and it increases the heat that is coming to the cloud that is hitting the ice land and so on. And the ice land melts, and now these are the effect we are seeing in our oceans, over our rivers, over flooding, oceans taking some settlements. If you go to some places like in India and of course areas like Indonesia and Malaysia, we have coastal populations that have been moved away by encroachment of the sea and the ocean. So the more we use the fossil fuel, we are going to affect the sustainable development. So our recommendation is that we need to invest more, especially in the universities, on the use. We do what is called an energy transmission to go to the renewable energy, and of course, if we can, because it's cheaper in the long run to invest in electric vehicles. Thank you. Number two is on the question was about religion and sustainable development. Whether the religion, the way I have understood it, is whether religion in any way has a role to play on sustainable development. I would say yes, in a very big way. Because in our churches, in our mosques, in our temples, this is where the populations come. And the people who lead those churches, those mosques, those temples, they have brought all kinds of problems related to lack of sustainable development. Poverty is one of the effects of lack of sustainable development. And when you have so many people who are poor in the mosque, who are poor in the churches, who are poor in those areas, the religion or the religious leaders have a big difficulty problem. So we need to encourage even the population to plant trees so that we can increase the tree cover, so that we can increase what we call the carbon sink. Anywhere people are living, we can do one or two things to help in sustainable development. The last question was on the how the issues about daily life and sustainable development, how corruption is affecting sustainable development. Remember, we are saying that sustainable development is taking care of the current needs, but not forgetting about the future needs. And so the issue here is that when we encourage corruption in the society, we are actually making the life difficult for the future generation, because we are going to have just few people enriching themselves and not taking care of the future generation. Thank you very much.
One more question, please, in favor. Yes. This is for Brother Dr. Giagenda. Please, Dr. Sally, get prepared for presentation.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that presentation. My question is about still the renewable energy. We have seen, for example, in the Scandinavian countries, some of them have already gone with electrical cars, but we have seen, because the roads are too long, the distances, so these cars are recharged by the generators that are planted along the roads. But these generators still use fossil fuel. So what shall we have saved to use electric cars that are charged by generators that are refueled by fossil fuels? That is question number one. The last question.
Okay.
The last question is, there is already a lot of fossil fuel that is in the wars that could even take the world for 100 years. Suppose we go electric.
The issue of the issue of energy transition to renewable energy is a discussion that cannot end in one day. But what I can say is the issue of change does not come in one day. What we are advocating is that there should be gradual change, because remember, we are trying to protect the world temperature to rise beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade. That is what the world is trying to protect. Because if the world temperature rises by more than 1.5 degrees centigrade, as expected by the year 2050, the Iceland is going to melt. If the Iceland melts, or the ice melts, we are going to have, like, for example, people in Dar es Salaam, all of them having to move out of that city, and all those coastal families, because the oceans cannot hold all that water. So the recommendation is that we should at least minimize. We cannot say that we are going to go 100% electrical, but if we can be able to, we are saying if we only reduce our use of fossil fuel by only like 20%, we can protect the planet. On the issue of the available fossil fuel underneath, and of course every day people are discovering oil. I think the issue is, as you can see, especially in that world, we may be the last world to change completely to electric cars. If you look at people like Germany and most of like Norway, they have given themselves year 2030 as the deadline, whereby they are going to register any more vehicles that is using fossil fuel. But of course, in Africa and other developing countries, we may not be able to do that. So fossil fuel will be able to use mostly in developing countries. And of course, this is the change is about gradual change. Asante sana.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanjau, for your wonderful presentation. Dear participants, we've had a systematic literature review from Dr. Wanjau on the issues relating to sustainable development. And the next presenter will also be discussing on the issues of sustainable development, but on the other way around, and this is the role of the community. So allow me to introduce Dr. Saleh Mohammed Haroon to make his presentation on community participation for indigenous sustainable development. So before bringing him to the stage, let me introduce him to you. Dr. Saleh is an assistant professor in the University of Juba from South Sudan. He is specialized in social work and development studies. He is currently serving as the head of department at the Department of Community Studies in the School of Community Studies and Rural Development. He has actually published 2 books, one at the Morogoro University, and this is Disaster Management. And the second book, which has been published by him, is Social Work's General Practice Skills. So now, without further ado, welcome on the stage Dr. Saleh to make your presentation. And Simon, yes, sir. Dr. Saleh Mohammed Haroon is coming, eh?
الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات والصلاة والسلام على من هداه الله رحمة للعالمين سيدنا وحبيبنا مصطفى صلوات الله عليه وتم تسليما ثم أما بعد. أيها الإخوة الإيمان, I'm Dr. Salim Muhammad Harun from South Sudan. South Sudan Islamic University proposed actually, and I'm representing South Sudan Islamic University here. Again, I'm from a Muslim scholar in the University of Juba. My paper is Indigenous Participation for Sustainable Community Development. Let us go. Yeah, we go to the introduction. Sustainable community development requires the participation of indigenous people and the communities. Otherwise, external efforts are unlikely to be maintained. If we don't make sustainable community development, then the external efforts are likely to be maintained. This paper examines the barriers to full the barriers for full participation, social, political, and economic empowerment of indigenous community members that can result in institutions gaining and control over their lives. Only with the full participation of indigenous population in identifying challenges, opportunities, and solution, community development can be sustainable. However, development from Islamic perspective is also examined in this paper. We move to the next. Yeah, objectives of the paper. The objectives of this paper are to encourage the inclusion of indigenous population in full aspects of community development, describes barriers to indigenous people's participation in the community development, share strategies to engage the community to achieve sustainable development goals, offer Islamic perspectives on sustainable community development. We move? Yeah, the methodology of the paper. This is that is conceptual, not a constructual, but conceptual. This is a conceptual paper that stresses the importance of full participation of indigenous people in community development. If development is to be sustainable, the participation of Islamic perspectives to sustainable community development is also examined. And this is what is not taking place in every sustainable development for community. The keywords used are participation, sustainable development, indigenous, community development, Islamic perspectives. Let us go to indigenous participation for sustainable community development. Sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the future generation. This means sustainable community development needs that with the beneficiary communities, assembling with the effect with the collective determinations to initiate. Can you please enlarge the font? Or else I follow from here. Yeah, community participation is the involvement of people in the community programs so as to address their own problems. People cannot be forced to participate in any program or project that affects their lives, but should be given the necessary opportunity as possible, because it is a basic human right that every individual should have. However, community participation can take place during any of the following activities. Need assessment. Here, the community expresses opinions about desirable improvement, priorities, goals, and negotiate with the agencies. Planning. This is where the community formulates objectives, setting its goals as well as criticizing plans made. They have right to criticize also any plan made. Mobilizing. This is where the community raises awareness about the needs, establishment of organization structure, and support it within the community system. Training. The training needs participation to be either formal or informal activities within the context of the training, and should enhance communication, construction, maintenance, and financial management skills when you are training the community. In implementation. In this regard, the community gets engaged in management activities, contributing directly to construction, operation, and maintenance with the labors and material, contributing cash towards the cost and the paying of services or membership fees of community organization. Community development is the process by which the effort of the people are united with those of community authorities to improve economic, social, and cultural conditions of communities. The first paper was talking about the development in other perspective, but here we are talking into community perspective. Now we look at the art of strengthening. The art of community strengthening relates to the sustained efforts to increase involvement and participation among individual members within the community, organizations, and the government in the developmental efforts through an integrated approach, planning, funding, and service delivery at the local level. For example, the University of Juba has adopted an approach that partners with the government and UNICEF to provide strategic and coordinated social work services as a response to community needs and priority that have been identified by the people and the social workers working in the university. Art of community participation. The art of community participation empowers community members in programs that address their needs as the key element to successful community development. The art of community empowerment. Empowerment allows people to gain more control over their lives, either by themselves or with the help of others. Empowerment includes approaches of greater participation and integration to employment to cope with the tasks as independently as possible and responsible.
Yellow to red.
Okay. We come to the summary. In this paper, the following areas were described. It is necessary for the community to find ways that guarantee sustainable development efforts at the end of intervention activities. Community members decided to either participate or decline from participating in the activities of development. Organizations and the government should be integrated approaches, should use integrated approaches that plan findings and service delivery at the local level. The effectiveness of community development efforts that depends on the collaboration and cooperation of community members. Leadership problem in indigenous community may affect their participation in the efforts affect their participation in the affairs that concern them. Low education level of the residents may result into low management, organizational and leadership skills, which impact their participation in programs at the decision-making level. From Islamic perspective, the main objective for humans on earth is to rule. On earth is to rule it according to God's justice, harmony, stability, and peace. لا تفسدوا في الأرض بعد إصلاحها. In conclusion, academic work of this nature will help academicians, students, and the entire community to address their own problems without any doubt. The art of community participation empowers community members in programs that addresses their needs as the key element to successful community development. Participation involves playing an artful and active role in successful community development. Participation involves playing an artful and active role in community decision making, knowledge of indigenous issues, attendance at public assemblies, and the ability to influence measures through individuals and group action decision making, planning, implementation, and evaluation. With this little contribution, I think the way to community participation will be clear to social workers, academicians, and the community at large. Allow me, there is acknowledgement. I wish to acknowledge the effort of guidance of the community of the committee that reviewed the abstract and the whole paper. I also thank Professor Lacey Salon, Professor Awad Hussein, and Dr. Yahya Ibrahim for encouraging me to present this paper, and Brother Abdul Hamid Selechi, whom I have not seen before, for his continuous coordination of programs to scholars in the Islamic world. Without their support, this contribution would, without their contribution, this work would have not been successful. Actually, I could not get even the information, but through Abdul Hamid's efforts, I was able to get it. Thank you for attending. I'm very glad to be with you, brothers. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saleh. I strongly believe that the participant in this conference have really appreciated, as the members of the community, their role towards indigenous sustainable development. So, Brother Msama, it's now a Q&A session for 5 minutes. Please take a lead.
Few questions, 5 minutes. Direct to the question. Please, few seconds, okay? Few seconds.
Thanks for the opportunity. I just want to ask the question. So we have the problem in Africa, especially we have poverty, we have civil war, and these are the chaos that face most of the African countries, for example, Sudan. And we know that these are the enemies toward the accomplishment of the Sustainable Development Goals. So my question is, what are the efforts that should be imposed by the African leaders, toward the effective implementation of these Sustainable Development Goals? Thank you.
The first time to be straight. Thank you for concern. Okay. Ukhti Bahati, could you tell us what's your name? Because we need to know.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Bahati Hussein Ramadhani from Muslim University of Morogoro. Thank you very much, Doctor. One, I have a suggestion, and two, a question. One, we have these 2063 agenda of the African we want. I think it will be very, useful to merge the 2063 agenda in your study so that we as community we could learn more and know how are we going to achieve those agenda in community development. The second issue is about, I'm seeing in our community here, I don't know if they are in Sudan, we have this problem of betting, sport betting, manline betting, spread betting, total betting, a number of betting in there. This is not a challenge toward the sustainable development, girls. Maybe you can tell me more about this.
Thank you. The last question to Dr.
My name is Dr. Sumusi Iguda, and I thank the presenter for his presentation. And I wanted to see how we can integrate the da'wah in the sustainable community development, because it deals with the community, then how it could be developed. And as well, the last lecture about the sustainable development, the environment, and what have you. This, the fact that you discuss something related to Islamic perspective of this community development, how can we, engage ulamas and du'ats in, orienting people to do their best in making this sustainable development successful? Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much. Now it's a time for answers.
Assalamu alaikum for the second time. The first question, that is the effort to be imposed for African leaders to sustain. You know, the African leaders, they may not be aware of any process of sustainable development. So people should not rely on the leaders. We should work underground. We have to, at least, it is the community effort. Those who have knowledge about community development should go down and mobilize people so that people are aware of their efforts and work towards sustainable community development. Otherwise, if we rely on the leaders, we may not be able to achieve our goals. You make the plan and present it to the leaders, then it will be implemented. This is what we have planned, and this is the success. I think this should be what we have to do. The second question, I agree with you. I appreciate that. I will look into it. I will put it into. But your second question is dissipating also. It needs work. We should. It is there also in South Sudan. Most of youths are engaged into it. What we do is to at least go. You remember I mentioned awareness, community awareness. People should be aware. But the problem is it is now used as a means of getting resource. So what is the second option to it? If you want to avoid people from doing something, you should avail them the means, the necessary means to it. That is the challenge. Otherwise, as a Muslim communities, we have to aware our children about it and tell them it is a bad effect in terms of Islamic laws. I think by doing so, we'll be able to sustain our Muslim community, but we first sustain our Muslim community development and then the general community. Then the third question is integration of dawah to community development. I think this is very important. If you, I think, can you open the, there's something I wrote about it. Because of the time, I think I did not talk about it. It talks about the sustainable development from Islamic perspective, that we are Khalifa of Allah in the world, to at least make sure that we work with the regulations of Quran. Without cheating people, we have to at least be justful when we are doing our community empowerments and development. So Islamic perspective is the best if it is presented even the whole world is going to take it. I think Dr. Salon, I was appreciating when I told her this is, she told me that this is based in the United States of America. She told me that she wants me to organize for such a workshop. So it is very, very important for us to integrate Islamic perspectives in economic, in community studies, in every subject. Thank you very much. I hope I have answered your questions well.
Thank you, Dr. Saleh, for your wonderful presentation. From sustainable development, and now we are moving to issues relating to Muslims. And this is Muslim minorities experience from Tanzania. And this presentation is going to be made by Dr. Issa Omar Malekela, if I have pronounced it correctly. Issa Omar Malekela. Or Malechela. Welcome on the stage. But before allowing you to present, let me say something about you. Dr. Issa, or Dr. Malekela, is a PhD holder in education. He is a lecturer at the Muslim University of Morogoro, and he is currently serving as the head of department, that is the Department of Education. He has a BA, Bachelor degree in Islamic Studies with Education, Master of Education in Instructional Technology, as well as the PhD in Instructional Technology. Something else which I would also like to mention regarding Dr. Issa is that he is also my teacher. He taught me Introduction to Hadith Studies sometimes back in 2010 when I was in my second year doing Bachelor degree of Laws with the Sharia at the Muslim University of Morogoro. So now the stage is yours. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. And my student also. Okay, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, through reading your faces, I can see that you need something little. And that thing is just to raise up for a while, please. Please raise. Refresh your mind for a while, please. Look right, left, up, down. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a seat, please. Am I using this one? Okay, my paper, as it can be seen, is about Muslim minority in Africa, an experience from Tanzania. Can you use that one? Because I have mine there. I can see there, no problem. I have my laptop, I can see. Okay, can you go to the next one, please? Yes, if you look at that, I don't know, photo or whatever, are they minority or majority? Maybe the answer might be depends. Are they majority or minority? Maybe the answer, it can be, it depends. All right? it depends. Okay, through that one, Muslim minority, in this regard, is referred to those Muslims emergent by design to look like minorities, not by mere numbers, rather by being purposely considered minorities to accomplish a hidden agenda regardless of their wider spread across the country. Okay? Okay, the issue of marginalizing Muslims is now a growing concern across the world, including Tanzania. Okay, by saying this one, let's see what scholars have said about this. The first one is Said. I think the spelling are not correct. It's S-A-I-D. That's Muhammad Said. Okay, according to him, the 1957 population census, Muslims outnumbered Christians at a ratio of 3 to 2. That is 1957. 10 years ahead, the 1967 census shows that the total figures for Tanzania mainland are 32% Christians, 30% Muslims, and 37% for pagans. Okay, after 10 years. Can you see the changes? Okay, this shows that pagans as a leading majority. You know what happened within these 10 years. However, there is no justification given in the 1967 census explaining the unexpected decrease of Muslim population and the growth of paganism. Okay? Is this an issue? The 1967 census was the last population census displaying religious distribution. Remember, the first one, I mean the 1957 was before independence. All right? That type of census was including the element of religious. And the next one, after independence, 10 years after independence, not after the first census, which was done in 1957, it was also the last one to distribute, I mean to include the element of religious in the population of the people of Tanzania. But afterwards, that element of including the element of religious was banned and removed to date. It is in this regard that one may believe that the figures for the 1967 census were subjected for political reasons to justify that Muslims are less than Christians in numbers, hence the distribution of political positions should go alongside the given ratio. Okay, this study employed analytical research, okay, by reviewing scholarly written articles on the topic. Okay, the major issues in this paper are just two here, as you can see them. The first one, what is the status of Muslims to the state, or how Muslims perceive themselves as members of the nation? All right. Based on the findings, based on the previous, scholarly written articles, the answer for the first one is Muslims are marginalized. Muslims are marginalized, right? And regarding the way they perceive themselves, their inclusion in the political leadership, development, access to national resources is minimal, particularly when a president of the country is not a Muslim. Okay? That is the first concern. The second one, how Muslims live their religion. Based on the finding also, they have freedom to worship, whereby they can pray, they can fast, can pay out zakat, go for Hajj, and do other activities. Okay? So what? Based on these findings, what we can say, they are not healthy. They are not healthy because, can you go to the next one, please? If those people who are considered minority, though they are majority, but they are put in that level, it is not a good business. It is like, you can call it a hidden bomb, which may keep silence for a while, but not forever. Okay? So what does this paper recommend? It is that there are many various strategies and approach should be used to put an end to this kind of one kind of people, I mean one kind of religion, for example, seeing themselves as a second citizenship, second class, or something like that. And the other thing is that national cake, which includes many things, should be distributed among the citizens evenly and equally across the country. And Muslims must invest more in education. Why? You know the meaning of education. You know the role of education. They must also invest more in health. You know the role of health also. And as well as economic activities, so that they can maintain and sustain their dignity. With this in mind, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for your presentation. It's now Q&A session. 5 minutes. Brother, please take a lead.
Thank you, Doctor, for your presentation. A few minutes for questions. I see so many. Please let me start with Dr. Ali, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My question may seem so simple, not political, not individual. From the presentation, thank you for your, mashallah, the best presentation I've experienced and learned a lot. The issue is, you said from one of your points that when you have Christian or non-Muslim president, is when Muslim minorities, according to a definition, are most affected. From my view, Tanzania has been having 6 presidents to date. 3 Muslims, 3 Christians. When you are having those 3 Muslims, why don't you turn the table upside down to favor your side?
Okay. Very critical question. One. Doctor, please.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Thank you, the presenter, for this thought-provoking presentation. I think the presentation is so controversial that the findings need to be strengthened, because there must be arguments and counter-arguments. And I can see the presenter based most of his findings on, facts that might not necessarily be enough to make the argument successful. So I wanted the presenter to go further and include the qualitative data by interrogating the issue from probably those who might be around, those political leaders, even outside the country, who might be participating in or even conducted the past census. Archival documents, enough data that you can present the argument because of the counter argument that might come up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The last question, this is going to Brother Suleiman Magafu.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Malechela, for your nice presentation. May Allah preserve you for the Ummah. And Alhamdulillah, we benefited a lot. My question is, over years we've been hearing the kind of recommendations which you have given us today, Alhamdulillah. But one of the greatest hindrances towards implementing those recommendations have been said by a lot of scholars, that we are not organized and mobilized. So I would like to hear from you, what are you suggesting to the Muslim Ummah to organize and unify themselves, to mobilize all their resources, so that those recommendations which we've been hearing for years may be implemented and we can see the development that we need to see in Tanzanian Muslim community. Thank you.
Okay, now, Doctor, because of the time, we will come back to you if we have more time. Could you please, Doctor? Brief.
Thank you. Starting with the first question, that Tanzania has been going through exchanging of presidents, a Muslim, a Christian, a Muslim, a Christian, a Muslim. Why Muslims do not take opportunities during their time to do whatever? I think if you know what is Islam all about, Islam is not for revenge. And Islam is for what? Peace, equality, justice, and the like. So if others are doing unjust things, unlawful things, I don't say because they did like that, I should also do like this. That is a hindrance. So we Muslims, Muslims are adhere to the justice. That's what I can say. That's why that one is not happening. Okay? You may agree or disagree with my answer. It's just a matter of thinking. Okay, the second question is, all right, more data to be collected. Actually, what I presented here, because just for the sake of presentation, there are many data, there are many writers on these issues, many writers. And one of the writers is Professor Njozi. If you want to read his book also, and he's also available here, Muslim and the State. You can find a lot. But no problems, I'll add more. the one I have and those I don't have also, I may add so that to make this paper more rich and useful, more useful. And the last one is about Muslims are not organized and not also mobilized. What should be done so that to make them more organized and things be done? I think this one is not just an answer, can have a variety of answers based on your context, based on your place and the like, based on your worldview, the place, you look at the situation of the people, the way they behave, and how you can organize them so that they can accept that idea, then things won't fall apart. This is just not just one approach. Because, for example, Muslim in Morocco, Muslim in Dar es Salaam, Muslim in, let's say, Dodoma, cannot use the same approach. Depends on the approach. Some approach can be suitable. Some approach cannot be suitable, for all these parts. So all also this, because inna sa'yakum la shatta, the way you behave, the way I behave, so if it is something which is needs a variety of approach, it's not necessarily use, one. So it depends on the environment, it depends on the situation, it depends also the time to use a particular approach, a particular methodology or whatever to make the people gathered, to mobilize people towards sustainable, we can say, development or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malekela, for your presentation. But I have something to add to your presentation, and this relates to the question of Dr. Ali, that's the issue of turning the table. And to me, turning the table does not necessarily, as you are mentioning, that it means like doing something like injustice. To me, I think he was referring to taking an opportunity as Muslims now to actually better your position and to do more better, so that even preparing the grounds, even when a non-Muslim president comes into the office, still things for Muslims will be better. And this is the challenge to you. I think that is how it's supposed to be. Maybe you have something to respond.
Okay, if that is the case, I think that is not, it is, like football, all right? Whatever you get a chance, utilize those chance properly. Because you may prepare a good environment during your time, let's say for 10 years. Once the other person comes, and also can say maybe for 10 years, one of the aims or the first things he will start with is to destroy what we have established. And, preparing things can take longer, but destroying things in just a second. So let's say I have prepared my people for 10 years. And what happens, the second one comes, then removes all those people and bring up the new ones. Do you think that kind of preparing will work? The only way, I think, is to have agreeable and doable principles and guidelines on how to share the cake of the country. Agreeable and doable, those principles and guidelines which can be seen, can be viewed by every individual, every citizen, that one can work, I think, from my world view, can work better. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Isa. Still we have more presenters. Now is it time for Dr. Omar Ramadan Abba, investigation of decline of Islam in Mumias region of Kakamega County. Please get prepared, and this is your time.
Thank you, Brother Msama. I would like to call on the stage Dr. Omar Ramadan Omukaba. I don't think I need to introduce him more because we had him yesterday presenting more than one paper, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi al-kareem wa ba'd. I think because of time, and you can see every time people are told the time is running out of you, let me move direct and we start the topic that we have. Decline of Islam in Mumias region of Kakamega County. There's a big question behind the topic that I've said. The question is, when we talk about decline of anything, that shows that the something was at the peak and it's now going down. So that is where we start from. We want to know what made it to reach at the peak and now what is making it to go down. After we get that, we now find, is there any effort being done to revive it back to its place, or it will remain like that? We shall move. The abstract, let me not talk anything more about it because it's only Islam religion first spread into Africa from the Arabian Peninsula during the early 7th century. I think we correct the first notion which was here to say it was 8th century, it is 7th century. Very many literature is there to explain that. Let us move to the background of the study. Okay, introduction and background to the study. We say in Kenya, Muslims account to 11% of the population. That's according to census of 2019. It may be right or not, the way you have heard it being said here, because the person who brought to us the census is not a Muslim. So even we Muslims in Kenya, we are crying on that. When we check our population around, we find it's not the one we are given. But now, since we are not the people who have done that, we usually accept of what is there. So reading every place, we'll find that we are given 11%. That shows the remaining percentages for non-Muslims. Okay, we say the Kenyan coast and northeastern region accounts for the highest percentage of Muslims. At the coast, Mombasa, Lamu, Malindi, and all those. Then the whole of northeastern, Garissa, Mandera is the one counting for a large number of Muslims every place when you read. So the question is, where are those other places, especially the place I'm writing on, which is Mumias? Nairobi also has a good number of Muslims because, you know, it's an urban center, so many people have migrated to that place. So there's no state religion in Kenya, hence the citizens are free to follow any given religion as stipulated in the Kenyan Constitution 2010. We come to the western region. We say the western region of Kenya is currently inhabited by people of Christian faith. So the whole of western region, if you go there, the religion dominated there is the Christian faith. The presence of Islam is very minimal, despite the fact that Islam was the first non-native religion to set its roots in the region. This according to Baka, who wrote it and said in 1950. So the question is, when Islam was the first non-native religion to step in Western, what happened for these other religions like Christianity, which came later, to overcome it? We say weakening of Islam started to be experienced with the onset of colonial missionaries. This was 1903. Then Mumias is a sub-county, which we want to talk about, is only a sub-county which is found in Kakamega County of the former Western Province. We don't want to take the whole county because entire county remaining will find is not Muslim, but the place where there is something to be said Islam felt is in Mumias. That's why we're concentrating on that place. So the paper will cover the Mumias region, and this Mumias region we talk about comprises of 3 sub-counties. This is the Mumias East, Mumias West, and the Matungu region. The population of this region that we want to talk about, it is 399,145 people. We are told, wait a bit, please, before you move. We are told of this population, only 74,200 are Muslims. Calculate and get, there's a problem there. So majority of the literature focuses, okay, let us now move. Let us see where is the problem. The problem, we have said, the Muslim community has existed in Kenya for over 1,400 years, and the community has enlarged and enlarged and enlarged. The history reveals that Islam was the first non-native religion to penetrate to Mumias region. This was late in 19th century. What made it to become powerful in the region is that there was a king called Nabongo Mumia. This Nabongo Mumia embraced Islam, and he was called Mohammed Nabongo Mumia. In history, we are told he embraced Islam on one Eid day when people were celebrating, and he was given some presents by the Arabs, so he joined Islam. He then played a very big role in propagating Islam in this region. And as you understand, when a leader changes to something, he gets many followers. So Nabongo embracing Islam, all the people surrounding him embraced Islam, and he being a king, he then affected many people and sent even his brothers to different places to go and propagate Islam. So the entire area was Islam, and we are told it came at a time when it reached a time when the Mumias region was known as Islamic State, where almost everybody was a Muslim. That is now, let us move, we find that what is so alarming now is, wait a bit. What is alarming now is that in 20th century, the colonialism came with missionaries. After invading the place, they started now spreading Christianity. The ultimate result was Christianity competed Islam, and it overcame Islam. Then people started now converting from Islam to Christianity. What is alarming that has made us now to write where the problem is, a region that was considered as an Islamic state is now dominated by Christianity. The question is, what brought this and what can we do? And this is according to the Bureau Statistics census, which was done 2019, which indicated that Mumias dwellers who are participating, who are Muslims, are around 18%, when we had almost 90%. So the big question is there, what went wrong? Let us see the objectives. We have 3 major objectives that we are to highlight in this study. The first, we want to look what made Islam to spread and become a very common religion in the area. So we shall look at factors that facilitated the spread of Islam. Then we look now, what made the Islam to decline? Those are factors behind the decline. Then we see, is there any effort to revive the situation, or the people in this area are contented with the situation, they don't want to do anything? Okay, the study according to, you know, the slides, you can't make everything there. I had two theories that support the study. The first theory is the theory called Islamization, which is written by the person called Banker in 1972, who says that Islamization in any region, it depends on two factors. First, the person who is carrying Islam, and the second is the person who is receiving Islam. If there is understanding between the two, so Islam will spread. And that one we shall find that are among the reasons which made Islam to spread faster in the region. We are going to highlight them. Then the second one, we decided to use the Karl Marx, which is people are now fighting on resources. I'll only give the overview of the theory because of time. Now the resource that is here that people are fighting on is the human resource. The human resource are these human beings. The Christians want these people, and they are Muslims. So they fought on it, and Christians won the war. Then they took these people to the other side. Let us go to the findings. I've been told time has gone. Please, let us see the findings. The study has revealed some factors that facilitated the spread of Islam in the Mumias region, the way I told you there. Now we summarize as follows. First of all, there was similarity between Islam and the Luya culture. The people of Mumias who reside there are called the Luya. So among them, they believed in one God. These Luya people believed in what we call Werhakava, who was their God. He was a supreme God in one. Islam came with oneness of God, we know that. So there was intermarrying of that, which meant people to embrace. They saw there's no difference between what we believe in and what these people have come with. So faster, they all embraced Islam. The second thing is that we find there is polygamy. Islam allows polygamy, and we know our African culture, people are polygamists. So they saw there's no problem, this is a good religion for us. But we know Christianity has a problem. In fact, a good, pious Christian should not marry, generally. That's what we should look in. So the popes, what they're doing, they're not mad, they are right, because following Jesus, Jesus did not marry. So how do you marry? So Islam was very good for these people. They decided, let us join this religion. The initiations that they have, rights like circumcision, they found they were circumcising themselves. Islam came with that. There is the intermarriage. The Islam does not deny people to intermarry, which was very good for them. The Muslim feasts, we say, like Nabongo Mumia became he embraced Islam on an Eid day. You know, people like feasts, and that's why we shall defend even the Maulid and everything, so that we can go and eat. Economic benefits, we know it's there, like businesses. Muslims came with business, so these people are benefiting. You find they work in a shop of the Muslim, so he will embrace Islam by the end of the day. Okay, let us see. Results of the study also indicate that the main cause of downfall of Islam in Mumias region was lack of religious knowledge. The main aim is ignorance, lack of religion knowledge. Okay? Then other reasons which were confirmed, they are conversion for this conversion was learning in missionary-sponsored schools, because when the missionaries entered, they constructed schools, and the Muslims had no schools. They didn't think about it. This one played a very big role. Conversion from Islam to Christianity, people started converting now following the Christianity. Islam was now declining in the region. Equality between religions as per their perspective. Some of them, when we ask them why did you become a Christian when you are Muslim, he says, I don't see the difference between Islam and the Christianity. So he's not seeing any difference between the two religions, made them to convert to Christianity. We have marriage to non-Muslim, which is a big problem. A Muslim is married to a non-Muslim. In the beginning, he's a Muslim, he's not a Muslim. By the end, he will turn to the other religion. Okay. Experiencing difficulty to adhere to Islamic principles like the 5 daily prayers. Some of them were saying, now I should go to the Shamba, I should do what, now, and I should pray. How can I mix the two? I better go to where I'll only go one day on Sunday only. I don't work and I go there. So they found it difficulties. Some of them started changing from Islamic to to Christianity. Then they also reported lack of compassionate. They said some Muslims have no compassion to others. Like there's a mother we went around, she said she converted from Islam because she was sick for 6 months. No Muslim visited her, but the pastors came and prayed to her. In fact, she believed the prayer of the pastors made her to heal. So it's better she go to the Christianity. Okay, I may not give all the findings because I see now people are standing before her. The study also found that they mentioned some other factors like poverty. It has been said here, poverty, you know. These missionaries, when they came with something. They were coming with food and what, all those. When Muslims are poor, they saw they can go the other side. And all those, please, we shall give later. Let us move to another one. All these are findings. The study also revealed that there are some efforts. Now there we come. We have talked about factors that facilitated the spread. We have talked about factors that now led to the decline. Now let us see, is there any effort in the region to uplift this religion? Okay, we find the study revealed that, wait a bit to give the, okay. The study revealed that there is some efforts put in place to revive Islam, like respondents confirmed existence of some religious propagators, we call them the imams and duats, who are doing dawah in the region to make sure that it's spreading. Some non-governmental organizations, especially Muslim organizations, are doing a great deal in the area to see that they revive all this. Let us go for recommendation. What do we recommend? Okay, based on the obtained results, it's recommended to intensify efforts to strengthen Islam in Mumias region by, 1, opening religious institutions, Muslim religious institutions which can disseminate religious knowledge, especially to the converts. Then these institutions will prevent the Muslim students from learning in Christian schools, so they will remain as Muslims. It's the responsibility, this responsibility lies to the shoulders of Muslim leaders who should reach to the bigger Islamic NGOs, forward their proposals. The written proposal they write, like they request for to be given other propagators to assist to uplift this in the area. Coming to the side of, we have said, the poverty that is there, the Muslim leaders and the entire Muslim community should also come with strategies to uplift the economic standard of the Muslims in the region. Then last, we say this can be achieved by formation of microfinance entrepreneurships, which or funded programs to intensify in modern farming. We know the area is a farming area, as the region economy depends majorly on agriculture. I think with the few remarks, I've given an overview of the Islam in Mumias and the state today and what should be done to at least improve. Okay, I may open if there's a suggestion. I think there can be a question. There should be suggestion what we can add on art, please.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your presentation. So now, Brother Msamaha.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your presentation. We allow you to have a seat right now. We'll have a time for question later, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But I have seen a hand from Brother Slach. And I give him a time to speak in favor. However, it's not a time for questions. Maybe he has some recommendations, maybe. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum for your presentation. There are a lot of things which we need to be corrected. My suggestion that when you say Kenya's population stands at 11% only, that is a figure. When I was a student, we were given that same number, and up to now we have been listening to that number. That is from the Almanac, which is printed in USA, and they always say that the population of Kenya is about 11%, which is not true. We stand at 49 million now. Kenya's population stands at 49 million, and we are up to about 35% of the population. Why I say that? Although the last census they carried out the counting on religious basis, they refused to show it. We have 329 members of parliament. Out of that, there are 67 Muslims. We have 47 counties. Out of 47 counties, 11 counties are 100% majority Muslim, and there are 5 which are about 50%. Just this is thinking is only. Out of the 47 counties, there are 12 governors which are Muslim, there are 9 governors which are senators, and there are 7 lady representatives in the parliament. So that should be easily for you to use your intelligence and see what population we have and where do we stand. Please correct your data and do some research. This is available with the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslim. This is available at Jamia Mosque. Please follow with them and then maybe carry out the correction. Thank you very much.
Thank you for a very valuable input, Brother Slach. Now is the time for Professor Njozi. Professor Hamza Mustafa Njozi is coming to address just a few minutes because we were discussing about we had very hot discussion here about the situation in Tanzania and so forth. Maybe we need some more clarification. So please, Professor, address the mass.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm here to make a brief statement on behalf of the Muslim University of Morogoro. As we have clearly stated, this conference has been organized by the Muslim University of Morogoro in collaboration with the International Institute of Islamic Thought. Now, I have been reliably informed that in the paper presented in the morning, when unfortunately I was in a side meeting with my colleagues of International University, Islamic University in Uganda, a paper titled Islam in the 21st Century East Africa, Challenges and Prospects in Islamic Dawah, presented by Hamis, and the paper written by Hamis and Fadhili Mtani, both of them from the Department of History, Muslim University of Morogoro. Now, in the presentation, it has been stated in the presentation that BAKWATA is not trustworthy, and it is condemned to belong to the Catholic Church. Now, I'm standing here on behalf of the Muslim University of Morogoro because I'm informed that my counterpart, our brother Abdul Hamid Slach, who is the TRIPYT East African Region Coordinator, had already made his statement. His statement would have sufficed, but since both of us are collaborating in this conference, and considering that the presenters are actually coming from the Muslim University of Morogoro, it may create an impression that what they stated is the position of the university or the position of the conference. So I'm standing here to say that statement is not representing our institution or the conference. And the reason is that it is factually wrong. But not only factually wrong, it is expressive of contempt to both the Supreme Council of Muslim in Tanzania, as well as to the Catholic Church. So on behalf of the Muslim University of Morogoro, and I repeat, as well as IIIT, we distance ourselves from it, that it doesn't represent our views. But finally, I would like to say and emphasize that in academic exchanges, critical thinking and disagreements are acceptable and actually encouraged, including academic civil war, so long as it remains both academic and civil. Now, in this case, I mean, the language used is improper, and the facts are incorrect. So I strongly advise, I mean, the presenters who wrote the paper, at least to go back to school as far as this subject is concerned. And immediately, out of hand, I can give them 3 references from authorities, and none of them has suggested, even in the very remote way, what they have been said. One is a work of a PhD dissertation, University of Canada, by John Sivalon, who has done research about this issue for 50 years. So you read his work, a monumental work, only 300 pages, and you will notice that what is said is not correct. But another giant is Professor David Westerlund of Uppsala University. He is the first to write on issue of Ujamaa na Dini, looking at Islam and politics, religion and politics in this country. And the book has been acclaimed, and in that work, again, this kind of suggestion is not available. But more at hand, and particularly on this subject, Mohammed Said has written about the banning of the East African Muslim Welfare Society and the formation of BAKWATA very clearly and in detail, chapter and verse. Again, there's no such suggestion. And finally, the work by Imtiaz Yusuf, now residing, I think, in Indonesia, but he's a Tanzanian. In his PhD dissertation from Temple University, he studied this subject. So I encourage them to read before they make such statements. But in brief, I simply wanted to distance my institution as well as IIIT from what has been said. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Hamza Mustafa Njosi, for a very brief but well understood statement. Therefore, I leave the room to Brother Ramadan Mapeo. Inshallah, thank you.
Thank you, Brother Msama. So hopefully, Professor has been understood correctly, and I do not want to add anything from what he said. But right now, I would like to welcome on the stage the next presenter for our sessions today, and this is Madam Mary Musembi. She will be presenting on effects of family-centered education on self-care management for patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus. But before welcoming her on stage, I would like to briefly say something about her. She's actually from Uma University in Kenya, and she's a holder of a master's degree in nursing, specializing in community health. Madam Mary Musembi, welcome on the stage. You'll be having 15 minutes to make your presentation. It would be grateful if you'll consider the time. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Madam Mary, and I've specialized on community health nursing. That's why I'm seeing that this is just a refresher presentation. At least we'll be able to draw at our attention on medical field. Actually, I'm a nurse by profession. So I'm presenting on effects of family-centered education, on routine practices in self-care management for patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus. The type 2 diabetes mellitus, actually it is a disease whereby you realize that it is a disease which can be managed at home rather than hospital setup. And the problem we have here is that despite the high prevalence levels of this type of disease, many people are able not to contain it. So among the types of diabetes mellitus, you realize that type 2 accounts for more than 98% globally. Then we need to ask ourselves, where is the problem? Why is the prevalence has really raised, despite the fact that it's among the common chronic disorders which can be managed at home? Studies have evidently reported this alarming increase Yes, studies have evidently reported this alarming increase with prevalence that has doubled for the last 30 years from 1980, which was 8.5%, to 2017, which of course we see that it almost accounted to 30% increase. Like other developing countries, we realize that Kenya is among the countries which are experiencing this amazing high prevalence, whereby we see that in our urban areas is 16%. Family members play a very significant role in positively influencing patients to manage their disease by themselves, so that we can avoid these, of course, admissions in the hospitals, and of course the complications which are related to the disease. So we all know that, or agree that we all come from families, and families actually the smallest unit in the society, and of course everyone learns, starts learning from the families. So it plays a very significant role in management of that disease. It is responsible for providing proper care and a useful behavioral change to its members, and therefore teaching them can play a significant role in controlling and preventing this disease, because of course we know that it is a genetic in origin. So we embrace this family-centered education, which of course we see that it is a teaching which is offered by the healthcare workers to their patients and their families at their homes. Recent studies have rated family-centered education as among the best strategies to practice at the family level, as it enables a patient to ask questions freely. So when a community health worker or a community health nurse goes to the families, usually after establishing the good rapport, the family members are free to talk to him or her, and therefore they are able to talk about their concerns and of course the issues they are having, and in turn the community health nurse will be able to modify and correct information, and create health and trusting relationship with the patients and their families. So, of course, after this, the patients and their families in turn will utilize such knowledge offered to them to practice these critical routine self-care activities by their own. Here the thing is, we need to make the patients own the disease, accept it, and be able to take care of it such that they will avoid the hospital admissions. Next, please. So we have what we call the self-care practice, which of course is the key, which need to be practiced at home. So self-care practice in diabetes management is learned. It is a learned behavior, which of course is offered by the community health nurse. It is offered to the community health nurse to a sick person who is a patient, whereby the aim is to help them get the knowledge on how to manage the disease at home with the help of their family members. So low levels of self-care in such patients have been reported to be the greatest challenge for community health nurses in an effort to offer the community health services at the grassroots levels. So we've seen the culture law beliefs and the practices being the challenge or the biggest challenge when it comes to offering of the such services. We've seen according to the recent studies, they have shown that the self-care practice among the sick people or individuals can mysteriously change the progression of the disease to a better outcome, and of course prevent the complications as a result of the disease, of course, and these complications are usually very fatal and warning. And of course, when you talk about these self-care practices, it means that a patient must follow or engage a timely plan of specific diabetes-related routine self-care practices. And we see that it is a chronic disease or a long-term disease or a disease whereby when a patient suffers from it, there is no cure. The patient has to stay with it for life. We are talking about these routine self-care practices, which we see that they are planned, and every individual patient who is sick must follow such practices so that can be able to avoid the complications, of which, of course, if patients get the complications, they are usually very serious, and yet people die out of such complications. So the routine self-care practices includes in diabetes healthy eating habits practices. So there are certain foods which a patient who suffers from diabetes mellitus must eat, and therefore immediately a patient is diagnosed with such a disease must, of course, be categorized there and, of course, start practicing such. So there is healthy eating habits, physical activities, which, of course, this patient must practice on daily basis, self-modeling of blood sugar levels, food care, avoidance of these sedentary behaviors such as alcohol intake, cigarette smoking, among others, coping mechanism which a patient needs to have strong, because sometimes these patients present with denial. And of course, denial itself is just a sickness whereby it can also interfere with the progression of the good progression of the disease in management. So we want to ask ourselves, now, where is the problem? Where is the problem? Despite the fact this disease is among the common ones, the prevalence is increasing. So where are we? Where are we felt as medical or the clinicians? We see that although the type 2 diabetes mellitus among the common chronic disorders globally, few individuals and their families know how it occurs, and this is where we need to base our education. Few family members, they know how it occurs, progresses, or the importance of utilizing the routine self-care practices to manage it.
3 times to time.
So being a disease of family origin, education should be geared towards benefiting both the patient and their family members. Instead, you see the education being offered at the hospital where the patient is admitted alone. So we also see that self-care, routine self-care practices challenges are being experienced in many patients, such as changes in lifestyles. So we are struggling to embrace change of cigarette smoking, alcohol intake, which has been actually been the biggest challenge, where now we are unable to make this patient stop taking excessive alcohol. The significant roles of families in enhancing the self-care practice has in recent past been ignored. So leaving these patients to be at risk of developing disease-related complications. So in my study, I used the patient and the family-centered model, and of course, I got this work from the work of Johnson and Abraham in 2010. And this time they were partnering with patients and their families. So this model or theory emphasizes of the nurse working with the patients and their family members rather than just doing to or for them, but embracing on them working for themselves. So in this model talks about where a nurse goes to the sick individual and talks to their family members, empowers them with the knowledge, and leads them to work or to continue doing or utilizing the education offered to them. So far we've seen that it provides the best approach in providing the care to the patient, the care which is respectful and responsive to an individual patient. Preference, where its preference means and the values, including ensuring that patients' values direct and guide all decisions made towards their care. So we see now the nurse is able, or the community nurse is able to include the patients in decision making, problem solving, so that they can be able to embrace the education being offered to them. So of course methodology used are cross-sectional research design, where both qualitative and quantitative methods were utilized. The study took place in Kitui River Hospital, which is in Kenya, diabetes outpatient, and Ida sample size of 67 respondents.
1 minute.
So that was just analysis to show how the findings affected the cultural beliefs and the religions were affected the patients from, or prevented them from practicing their routine practices, diabetes practices. So these are the findings that the cultural beliefs and the practices, yes, cultural beliefs and the practices, of course, when you see they really negatively affected our patients. Next. So, so the study indicated that it was important approach to approach diabetes routine practices holistically, using collaborative methods to enhance self-care practice among these patients, whereby, of course, the aim was to reduce diabetes-related complications. Next. So it provides now the valuable insight on the routine care practice that could exhibit positive self-care behaviors, and of course involving the family management in managing this disease was of importance. So the conclusion and recommendations that by providing adequate information and training to both patients and their families can empower them to engage in self-care activities, and the empowerment should be geared towards creation of awareness, planning, and strictly practicing the self-care activities. So the community health nurse needs also to team play with other professionals, including the nutritionists, so that they can also plan for the diet for these patients. So the government also needs to come in to bring or to make policies on the management of this disease at home, train more community health volunteers who are offered with the basic skills, and they should also embrace outreach and boosting services, where the community nurses are able to move to their services to the family setting instead of the hospital. Next. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Now is the time for questions.
Thank you so much, Madam. For want of time, we are not going to allow many questions, so we'll allow only 2 questions.
Oh, ladies first, eh? Inshallah, say yes.
I want to thank very much the presenter for the wonderful presentation. Unfortunately, this topic touches me deeply because my maternal heritage, from my great-grandfather to my mother, they all suffer from type 2 diabetes. So my question comes when you said that the family should also be educated on the issues, but majority, I'm not saying this statistically, but I believe one of the ways to control involves also the diet, I mean the intake of the food and all those things. But in reality, most of our families are not blessed like to say that we should have like maybe a special meal for this person and this person. So my concern is, aside from educating, do you also like give them the solutions in case if a person is, a family is facing challenges in their daily consuming, I mean, of the food products and such. Thank you very much.
Okay, the last question. 2 seconds. 30 seconds.
It's not a question, but yes, an advice. I'm Muniri Mashaka Shabani from Muslim University of Morogoro, Department of Medical Bioscience. My advice is from your paper, you employed the cross-sectional study design as the methodology. and you are finding you have the p-value of 0.00, which means that the null hypothesis is accepted. But in fact, from this methodology that you employed, it's difficult to get this kind of null hypothesis. So I advise you next time, use randomized controlled clinical, where you divide the two groups, the group that is intervened and another group act as a control. So that group with non-diabetic patient is divided into two. So the group that is intervened, that is family-centered education, and the rest is not provided with that education. Then you collect the data, you analyze them, and get the clear findings. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Answers from the first question, because the second was just recommendation.
Thank you so much for the good recommendation and the correction. I think I'll look into that, because I've not published my work. I just want to respond to the questions which I was asked by Madam on the challenges of the families. Of course, these are some of the challenges we are facing when we take our health education there. We find the families who have work to an extent that they are unable even to afford the type of foods which these patients are supposed to eat. And therefore, the concept we usually use is that use the available resources. Using the locally available resources, we try to look around what is it that is the staple food from that community. Which food from that community can fit in maybe carbohydrates or proteins. So that's what we usually use. Other times you realize that when you look around, you cannot even get such. So what we usually do is we link them to the officers who deals with search, because of course in our country we have some donors. We have also the officers who are concerned with the poor. So usually we use that way, that fast, or the well-wishers also. So that has been the biggest challenge. So again, we are aiming at equipping our family members with the knowledge on how to ensure that the patients get or take responsibility for themselves. They are able to get the food, they do the exercise, they take care of their food, so that they do not get the complication, the disease-related complications such as eye problems, the diabetes food, which leads to amputations, rhinovalia. All those are usually our aim. But of course, I will agree with you about the challenges within the families.
Thank you so much. Now we wish you the best for your wonderful presentation. We are very happy. We have got so many things important for our families. Inshallah, we are going to use them, and we'll make sure that we even advise others, because this is a problem that we have in our communities today. So we think it's a very good thing for us to advise other people as well. So please, Brother Mapeo.
Thank you, Brother Msamara. Actually, we are going to have two presentations and then we'll break for prayer. And these are the presentation of Madam Grace Muira Wainaina and Dr. Aina Obe. So we'll start with the presentation of Madam Grace Muira Wainaina. She'll be presenting on utilization of mobile phone service among family members of pregnant mothers for implementation of safe motherhood during pregnancy period in Kajiado County. But before welcoming her on the stage, let me introduce her a little bit. Madam Grace Muira Wainaina is from Umma University, Kenya. She's a qualified midwife and a nurse, and she specialized in maternal and neonatal care. She's also having a membership in the nursing membership, professional organization in Kenya. So, madam, you're welcome on the stage, and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present some of the work that was done in Kajiado County. Now, a little bit about Kajiado County. There is part of Kajiado that is in Kenya, and part of it is in Tanzania. So, probably this would be a mirror of what is happening on the other side. I wouldn't want to say that it is generalized, but as you're waiting, so just a little bit about this study. It was funded by Uma University. I would like to acknowledge that. And this was because one of the values of Uma University is to gain partnership with the local community. Now, Uma University is in a Maa community being the Maasais. So there are few Maasais in Kenya and there are few Maasais in Tanzania. Now, a brief picture of what is going on in what you are calling mHealth and the utilization of mobile phones and incorporating them into health. Now, what is going on, where we are going, and what do we have, and where we want to be. Now, the maternal mortalities, women are known to die, and sometimes our cultures, our religions tend to cover, and we don't get the correct statistics of how many women die in the period of pregnancy until they deliver. Move to the next picture. So what is going on is in 2016, there was a real plan that the Sustainable Development Goals would try and reduce the maternal mortalities. And we hope that by 2030, we'll have at least gotten from 309 per 100,000 live births to at least 70. We don't want to say that we want any woman to die, but at least we'd want to see change. Next slide, please. So where we are in Kenya, our current maternal mortality, which ranges depending on which organization is doing the study, is we have 362 women who die. I tried to look at Tanzania. It might be plus or minus, but we probably have the same problem. Uganda is not very far from our problem. Kajiado, therefore, where we share, is around 500 women, maternal mortality deaths in 100,000 live births. So in Kenya, there was a strategy to try and reduce those maternal mortalities. There are many factors that attribute to these deaths. Culture is there, religion is there, knowledge issues. Some of the things are lack of knowledge in the family structures, whereby the mother is the only one who goes to the facility. The father doesn't know where the mother goes. He only avails himself during the discharge of the child. Okay. Let's move. So the objectives, therefore, were to describe the baseline information on safe motherhood among the pregnant women in Kajiado County, to highlight the information that these pregnant women have and their gatekeepers. In this case, the gatekeepers were the husband or the male partners, as well as the maternal moms of these mothers, because we are living in an African community whereby when a woman is pregnant, the husband takes the charge of decision making, as well as the maternal or the paternal mom, depending on the culture. So in some cultures, it's the maternal mom who has the say. In some cultures, it's the paternal mom who has the say. But all the same, the husband or the male partner has the final say towards the pregnancy. The third one was to determine the relationship between that information that the moms get in the hospital, as well as their gatekeepers. So the two gatekeepers in this case was the male partner of the mom, as well as her maternal or her paternal mother. Next. So in the methodology, we tried to do, the plan was to do a longitudinal study to follow up these women once they come to the facility until they deliver. Now this study was planned before COVID, and by the time we were implementing it, it was during the lockdown time. And all of us can remember the challenges that we had with lockdown. If we are in the facilities, people never came to the facility, which was a good thing in our part, because it was a good part for us to implement and to show the need of mobile health implementation. Apparently, we projected a sample size of 240 pregnant women. But in a span of 1 year, we followed up only 49 moms. That was only 20%. Now we went to literature and find out whether we were the only sufferers of COVID, and we found that most facilities had a decline of outpatient visits between 10 to 90%. Now that was interesting, because we have always thought that mothers have to come to the facility. But we need to change our culture whereby not everybody needs to come to the facility to get some of this information. We can use mobile phones. Now, the interesting thing about this was that we also looked at, that's not here, we also looked at the penetration of mobile phones in our communities, and we found that there is some decline in penetration whereby women do not own phones. Not many women own phones, or if there is a phone in the household, it is shared. Or if it is shared, sometimes the network is wrong, it's not right. However, in some of our findings, we found that some of these moms who came to the facilities and were followed up, most of them were moms who had 1 or 2 pregnancies, so they are the ones who came. Those who had more pregnancies never came. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. The proximity of this mom in terms of accessing the facility was important, because during COVID, people feared to come to the facility. Apparently, the ones who were living very close to the facilities came, but we realized that some of them came as far as 30 to 50 kilometers, but they only came once. So they would just come once, and because of COVID, they wouldn't come again. So it was an opportunity for us to implement our mobile health, whereby we would call them, would give them advice, and we felt that we did something in the facility other than just letting them at home. Next slide. Some of them accessed only 2 visits. Apparently, the WHO recommends for 8, so they didn't come. But, next slide. We tried to give them, for all the mothers who came, the few who came, we took their phone numbers as well as their gatekeepers' phone numbers. We tried to find out whether their phones were active, their numbers were active. Majority of them, their phones were active. So at least we had a leeway of giving information even with COVID lockdown. Most of the moms got at least 4 messages. Now, these messages were given to them in a span of 3 weeks. So every 3 weeks, we'll dispatch a message on what we call danger signs. So we'll tell them about if you don't perceive fetal movements, please come to the facility. If you have this kind of problems, all the danger signs, please come to the facility. The same information would be given to the husband, and the same information would be given to the mother-in-law. The outcome, I've left out so many things, but the ultimate outcome was among all the mothers who came to the facility, only one mom delivered on her way to the facility. All of them accessed the facility in time. So even if they feared to come to the facility, they were confident that they got the messages on phone during the COVID lockdown, and they felt satisfied. So for us, it was time for us to think. Now, the two pictures there, that picture on the far point where there's a pregnant woman in the phone, is that we need to change our culture, that a phone is now a basic need. Every person who has to access health must have a phone. That phone must be well connected. There has to be a way of charging that phone. It has to be incorporated into the healthcare implementation program. The next picture down here tries to show that the father or the male partner of every woman, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their culture, needs to get the same information this woman is getting from the facility. It is a necessity. Next. So conclusions, the cultures must incorporate all stakeholders in health. The telecommunication must be engraved in health. The owning of a phone is a form of empowerment. The role of repetition was very clear. Every time we kept repeating this information to this mom, we cleared a lot of bias in terms of culture and even religion. And then the other thing was discussion of health matters was based on a common knowledge. What the mothers knew was what the mothers got was the same as what the fathers got, was the same as what the mother-in-laws got. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Grace, for your wonderful presentation, and also thank you for actually keeping the time. So it's now a Q&A session. Brother Usama, you can have a seat.
Yeah. Could we please have the mic, please? Yeah, this one. Only 3 questions?
Assalamu alaikum. Actually, I was very interested in this topic since I saw it day one. My question is, I think this program is very useful, and especially in the remote areas where at least there is a poor accessibility of our health services. But in our remote areas, most of them also they have issues in network. So if we need to use the phone, at least we should have a network. Now, which strategies do you have to assist these areas where there is remote health services, but at the same time also there is remote issues in network problems to access these health services on their phones?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations for a nice presentation. And alhamdulillah, we've benefited a lot. My question is, apart from you giving them information after every 3 weeks concerning the danger signs and other information, were they able to call you in case they face anything they would like to ask?
question is for Professor. This is a professor, not a doctor. Mashallah.
Thank you very much, Madam Presenter. Mine is also connected to the internet activity, but I wanted to ask, maybe I missed it in the presentation or just skipped because of time. Where is government in this whole spectrum?
Thank you, Prof. Now it's a time for answers.
Thank you for those questions. Now, poor connectivity. The inclusion of all stakeholders in the family was a plus for us because one, we realized there's a lot that I've left out. We realized that the mothers only left the family house to go to the facility in very rare conditions, especially during COVID. But the men went to the centers more. Now, connectivity was their mothers who couldn't access this information because they were in the village. But the husband accessed that message when he went out, because during COVID, only one person, I don't know what happened in Tanzania, but in my place, only one person would access the food areas or some essential services and come back home. Was that the case? So we realized that even if the mother didn't get the information, the husband or the male partner would come and say, oh, I got this message, did you get it? Which was a plus for us. So even if the mother did not access that information because she was in the village, because most villages did not have good connectivity, the fact that the man went out and came back, went to the center and got connectivity and came back was good for us. There are some messages we sent and some of them never got the messages because of poor connectivity. So that was an issue, it was a limitation, but it was backed up by the fact that during that time, one person would access and somehow the phone would get network and would still come back. Now, we didn't think it was a problem if the mothers got few messages. The idea here was they're not coming to the facility. Can they get at least something from us? Can they feel they're still connected to us irrespective of the lockdowns? So the poor connectivity, yes, it was a hiccup for some people, but somehow each household got information, and that's why the graph shows some others got few messages and others got more. Actually, the interesting outcome was that some mothers who had more visits or who had more messages, some of them were the ones who stayed with us longer. So the ones whom we started when they were in the second month of pregnancy. So the idea here was, do we really need mobile health services? That also applied on electricity. There are some families that didn't have electricity, so they would probably charge their phones once in a week. So they would still get that information. The issue was not how fast they get information, but the issue was, can they really access that information during their pregnancy time, irrespective of their culture or religion or educational backgrounds. Did they have extra information? Yes. Apparently, the phone number that we used to give this information was now like a call center. Apparently, I was the principal investigator, and because we couldn't access those facilities in Kajiado, we had to appoint some nurses to help us. So they would fill in the forms and send the papers to us by courier services. So we also didn't get to meet with those healthcare workers, but we would do online meetings. So we would do collaborations once every 3 weeks. So the calls, the interesting thing was I was 150 kilometers away from where the study was being carried out. So they would call that number in the middle of the night with other problems, snake bites, violence in the house, so many things. Some of them were not even health related. But the only thing that we do was to lead them and to give them confidence that they can still go to the facility and they should not fear COVID. So that was the plus for us. The role of the government, I don't know about your government, but I think for us in Kenya, there are some insurances that are now coming up to implement or to show the need for mobile health. So it's still in a very, very preliminary way. It's still not embraced very much. Not all facilities have call centers, maybe the private and very expensive facilities, but the government facilities do not have. So we wish that this can be embraced and the need for it can be seen and probably implemented.
Thank you so much, Madam. Our plan is to go for prayer at 1:30. Therefore, we're just going to have the last presentation before we break for prayer. And this is going to be delivered by Dr. Aina Obi Shamsuddin Polatito. And he'll be presenting on the topic which says Islamic universities as agents of development and social transformation, the way forward. But before bringing him on the stage, let me say a little bit about him. Dr. Aina Obe Shamsuddin is from the Islamic University in Uganda. He is a holder of a PhD specializing or measuring in management and administration. He is also a mentor, a coach, and public analyst. He is also a member of the African Peace and Education Research Association and many other. Please, Doctor, welcome on the stage, and the floor is yours.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Due to time, I've decided to make a summary of my paper in the following outlines. Number one, we'll be talking about the introduction to the topic, background to Islamic universities, which are referred to in the paper as IUs, the methodology adopted, the finding, the way forward, discussion, and conclusion. And at the end, there is a policy recommendation for policymaker. The introduction look at the introduction of Islamic universities, the role they play in influencing Muslim culture, Muslim capabilities, social and moral structures are one of the fundamentals that the Islamic University were established to achieve. And to achieve this is based on their commitment and their retention of Islamic worldview as an institution. So these higher education institutions play a crucial role in defining the intellectual, social, and moral aspect of Muslim communities at the peak of Islamic civilization. They have generated academics, philosophers, professionals who have made significant contribution to the advancement of communities and society through sciences generated in the period of Islamic golden age. That is the age when Islam was at the peak of all knowledge. This time occurred between 786 and 1258 years, and 1250 years, and such significant scientific development under various Islamic dynasties such as Umayyad of Kardun, the Abbasid of Selval, the Samanids, the Siyarids, and the Buyis, and in Persia, and as well as the Abbasid Caliph. It should be interesting to us that Umayyads of Kardun can be said to be one of the Islamic regime or the caliphate that gave European the advancement at which they equally develop, and it can also be said that the Europeans also benefited greatly from the work of the great Islamic scholar before the advent of Europe as a nation of civilization. The Islamic civilization also made significant advancement in several fields of modern-day scientific discovery, particularly in astronomy, in mathematics, in medicine. Additional areas of scientific investigation include alchemy, like we all know the Ibn al-Razi and the rest of them, chemistry, botany, agronomy, geography, cartography, ophthalmology, pharmacology, physics, and zoology. The civilization has imparted education and training of people of various backgrounds in an integrated approach curriculum with a crucial role in fostering research and innovation across many domains, such as science, technology, religious education, engineering, art, mathematics, and humanities. Islamic universities have played a crucial role again in advancing interfaith discussion and fostering mutual understanding, which is vital for development of peaceful and harmonious society as a method of building connection among diverse groups. The introduction continues. Nevertheless, Islamic universities serve as distinct hubs of knowledge. They not only safeguard and propagate Islamic traditions, but also play a crucial role in promoting progress and society change. In addition to their functions in education, this institution possesses the capacity to transform into active catalysts of transformation and advancement, not alone for nations with Muslim majority, but also for the international community as a whole. To this progress, Islamic academia should persist in actively contributing to the advancement and social change of Muslim community, with a primary emphasis on delivering high-quality education that is directly applicable to the requirement of the communities as an imperative to encourage research and innovation that specifically tackle the pressing issues confronting Muslim culture, which also include, but not limited to, poverty, unemployment, and social inequalities. This paper before you will examine the role of Islamic University as a catalyst for growth and social change in Muslim communities. It will explore how these higher institutions have been fostering research and innovation across many disciplines, including science, technology, humanities, and efforts made by them to foster interfaith conversation and comparison. A crucial factor in establishment of peaceful and harmonious community, as a crucial factor in the harmonious communities. Unfortunately, it will ultimately exploit the future path for Islamic universities to sustain their active involvement in Muslim community progress and society change. Now we look at the background to Islamic universities. Islamic universities have a rich and diverse history that spans over 1,000 years, with the first Islamic university being established in the 19th century in Baghdad. These universities were initially known as madrasas or madaris and primarily focused on teaching Islamic theology, Islamic law, theology, and Arabic literature, Arabic language and literature. Over the time, these institutions began to expand their curriculum to include subjects such as mathematics, science, philosophy, science and philosophy. During the golden age of Islamic civilization, which was between 8th and 13th century Christian era, Islamic universities flourished and become centers of intellectual and scientific excellence, attracting scholars and students from all over the world. These universities were known for their emphasis on critical thinking, reason, argumentation, and the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. Rather than for the religious or practical purpose. Some of the most notable Islamic universities during this time includes Al-Azhari University, the University of Al-Quraini in Fars, Morocco, and the University of Baghdad. Islamic universities also play a crucial role in the growth and social metamorphosis of communities and nations. These institutions are not only centers of learning, but serve as a catalyst for intellectual, cultural, and social development within Islamic society and beyond. Their educational programs, research initiatives, and community engagement, Islamic universities contribute to the advancement of knowledge, the preservation of Islamic heritage, and the promotion of ethical values that are essential for social progress. Today, Islamic university can be found in many countries around the world, and they continue to play an important role in preserving and promoting Islamic scholarship and values. This university offers a wide range of academic programs, including undergraduate and graduate programs in the field of Islamic law, theology, Arabic, and literature, and science and engineering. In addition, Islamic University may assist in dissemination of new information and the acquisition of new skills that are necessary to face the difficulties of sustainable development in a community. Universities can also play a role in the promotion of public awareness and the provision of preconditions for informed decision-making, responsible conduct, and consumer choice. The Islamic universities may also contribute to the formation of societies that are more egalitarian and just if they step to the advanced sustainable development. This is the Islamic universities I use may also have. The Islamic university may also take procedures of the following. We look at the historical background. Historical background is looking at the origin of Islamic university. That is when university was actually pronounced as a university. That was in Morocco. Al-Azhari University, that was well known nowadays. And the historical origin that were dated back to the Islamic culture. Then we look at the people look at the contemporary roles that are expected to be played by Islamic universities. And these roles include a diverse array of subjects. In addition to theology education, these universities provide instructions in contemporary sciences, social sciences, humanities, and technology. The process of diversification has provided that graduates of these universities are actively engaged in fostering economic growth and as well as advancement in their various areas. Furthermore, the universities have a role to play in fostering conversation and understanding among people of different faiths. Islamic universities may also assist in the construction of bridges between various groups, as well as promotion of peace and harmony, provided they create an atmosphere of mutual respect and understanding for one another. Islamic universities also provide Islamic ethics and values, because IUs are focusing on Islamic principles and ethics. And these principles and ethics will allow them to serve as the guidance of Islamic legacy, preserving Islamic law, holy texts, and other forms of Islamic literatures. Islamic universities, the IUs, also play a global outreach and collaboration. As a result of the current trend towards globalization, Islamic universities now have the option to participate in a worldwide cooperative project and partnership. This will ensure that Islamic universities allow them to share information, understand other culture, and also work together to find solutions to problems on a global scale. IUs also have the potential effect. We have a potential effect on a worldview scale in activities of joint research initiative, academic conference like what we are going through, student exchange programs, as well as opportunities to further engage in new employment opportunities, enhance infrastructures amongst them, and as well as to construct a robust economy. Furthermore, IUs have the ability to play a role as actor in the process of social change and growth. These institutions have the potential to contribute to the creation of society that is more equal, just, peaceful, because they provide education that is founded on the values and principles of Islam, promote sustainable development, and as well encourage interfaith communication. The methodology adopted for this research is more of interactive and qualitative research method. It is, all right. So the universities also, this is the methodology. The methodology actually adopted a kind of narrative and interpretative method using qualitative. And the narrative qualitative method here is to listen to the views and opinion of individuals who are actively working among these universities. And the selected universities are, that is on data collection. Yeah, the selected universities are these 10 universities from Central and East Africa, like you can see. Also, 10 universities in West Africa. And the total of 20 universities, Islamic universities, were selected. And the result of the findings shows that the Islamic university has historical significance, integrated curriculum, not just only Islamic alone, but it encompasses what we call stream. That is the science, technology, education, religion, mathematics, and humanities. They also engage in community, they also engage themselves in community engagement, in global collaboration, also serve as a forum for empowerment of women, research and innovation. And the graduates of these universities are also skilled because they are prepared to meet the challenges of the labor market. The way forward, integrated principles with contemporary knowledge. The way forward here is to look at the curriculum which serve as a contemporary to the sciences, humanities, as well as social science. The way forward also include the ethical framework that's based on Islamic teachings that guide development and social transformation. Other way forward for Islamic university include community engagement and service learning. They also include foster intellectual discourse and interfaith dialogue, empowering underrepresented groups, economic development and entrepreneurship. It's also looking into global partnership and collaboration, sustainable practices and environmental stewardship, leadership development, measuring impact and continuous improvement. The discussion and conclusion, like you can see, due to time, it says that Islamic universities or IU can serve as advancing peace and interfaith coexistence, confront radicalism, and cultivate inclusiveness within the population. The recommendation for the policymakers, you can see, are all listed here. And finally, the Islamic universities have become a significant drivers of development and social transformation with their respective place as advocates of social change in both Islamic world and the global community, if they accept proposal put forward into practice. Thank you so much for your attentive listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aina, for your wonderful presentation. It's now Q&A session. Brother Msama, you can take a lead.
All right, I think we go back to the topic.
Okay, few questions. No one to ask? Oh, mashallah. Prof.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ain. For me, maybe I'm looking at the future. because a lot has been said in terms of historical experience. What I would wish to see probably in the next presentation related to this, looking at the history, the category of those universities through a certain episode of time, and the current universities. Can we try to check ourselves whether we are matching the trends of those universities, because I hear a lot of history here, and we compare ourselves whether we are really matching in terms of our roles and the impact in the society. I feel that, to me, I could see some kind of strengthening of our positions and make the world respect these universities. Thank you.
Doctor, I have seen a hand too. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor, for the presentation. My own take on the presentation is that I wanted to just recommend for probably how to, for future editing of the paper, to capture aspect which is more important in the running and managing these new Islamic universities that are all over springing up. Especially what are the prevalent problems, especially financing these universities, issues related to the management, and how to compare how they are being managed, the output of the universities and the similar pace-based universities. I think this is very critical for the existing ones and probably the ones that are coming up in the future. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Let me go back to Dr. Shamsuddin Bolatito. Could you have any comments? Or?
Definitely, I must have comment, because if I don't have comment, the vice rector will sack me from the university. Thank you so much for your insightful comments about the paper. If you will read the paper extensively, there are some silent areas which I could not bring onto the PowerPoint presentation due to time. But I will work on your suggestion, like we look at the impact of these universities in our various areas of benchmarking, well, like our brother said, with other faith-based institutions. Also, the paper also will look at the challenges. For me, deliberately, I skip area of challenges of these universities, because we know even both faith-based universities and the contemporary universities are equally having challenges of finance and enrollment. So this is a general problem. But when it comes to administration and management of this institution, I think that can be a recommendation for other studies or for other people to engage on. But nevertheless, this is just at the pilot stage. I think I can still work on it before it's go into final, what we call it, publication, because we, like you said, we need to compare and contrast the impact of Islamic society in their own environment and the impact of non-Islamic universities. So at the end of the day, we'll be able to look at our way forward in terms of intellectual capability and benchmarking with other faith-based institutions. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Shukran. If we could have a time, we could narrate a very good profile of Dr. Shamsuddin Bolatito, but it could take about 2 hours about his profile. So, because of the time, now we break for Salah, and then we, at 13:30, we go for lunch, or 13:30. We go for lunch, and then we come back for other 3 presentations, and then we wind up our conference for some of few utterances and statements from Professor Mustafa Hamza Njozi, and then we will also get a time for few things to be done. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best. Have a nice day.